Garden Grove Housing Authority. Ms. Bailey, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Dalton?
Here.
Commissioner Doe?
Here.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Navarez?
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor?
Here.
Vice Chair Broadwater?
Here.
Chair Wynn.
Okay, at this time, we'll go to oral communications. Does anybody like to speak to the...
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. Same to you.
I can't do it.
Why don't we go around the panel and just throw in our 2 cents worth on the
Yeah.
neighborhood stabilization program?
Tippy toes. Always. They're called lifts.
Yeah, I'd like to call the Garden Grove City Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Councilmember Broadwater? Here. Councilmember Doe?
Here.
Councilmember Wynn? Mayor Pro Tem Jones?
Here.
Mayor Dalton?
Here. Okay, we'll have the invocation by Kingsley Okaraki and the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Doe.
Thanks. Let's face the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I see we have a presentation.
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like John Clark to make the presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Fertal. It's my great pleasure to read the following statement. Tonight, the Garden Grove City Council is pleased to recognize a local resident for an outstanding accomplishment, receiving a 2009 Yale University Educator Award. Will Mr. Wee Tran please come forward to the podium there? Mr. Tran is the head counselor for the nearly 2,000 students at La Quinta High School, a culturally diverse campus in the Garden Grove Unified School District. The student body is 72% Asian, 20% Hispanic, and 10% Caucasian, and he has served at La Quinta for 5 years. Wee's outstanding work as a mentor and educator earned him a Yale University Educator Award for 2009, a prestigious recognition that honors outstanding educators from around the world. While it's a significant accomplishment to be one of 175 nominees, Wee is one of only 52 educators worldwide to receive the award. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "The secret in education lies in respecting the students." In his 5 years, Wee has advised students to continue their education and become lifelong learners. He believes the key to positive growth and change in the world is to invest in our young people. What makes the award especially memorable is that recipients are nominated by newly admitted Yale students. Mr. Tran's nomination came from a former La Quinta High School and current Yale University student, Christina Bowie. Ms. Bowie recalls Mr. Tran helping her prepare for admissions interview. She says he understands students on a personal level and encourages them to take challenging courses and challenge themselves. Wee is a Garden Grove resident and a graduate of Santiago High School. He completed his undergraduate studies at UC San Diego and received his master's in counseling from Cal State Long Beach. He became a counselor to be an advocate for underrepresented and at-risk students. He feels that school counselors are in a perfect position to make a significant impact on students and schools, thus influencing the future. In addition to counseling students, Wee is often called upon to assist Vietnamese families. He's one of the few Vietnamese-speaking staff members on campus, and as a result, his outreach goes above and beyond students and academic counseling. At this time, the Mayor and City Council would like to present Wee Tran with a certificate of recognition for the very high honor of receiving the Yale University Educator Award. His commitment to today's youth and their future is helping develop the strong, positive community leaders of tomorrow.
Then we'll bring everybody up here with you to have the picture taken. Thank you very much. I'll give these to you. Thanks. I don't know if you heard what I said is that we're going to take a picture with him alone, and then whoever you have here with you, let's bring them up and have a picture taken too, because they're very proud and we want them to share in this. Okay, if you'll face the camera there.
This way.
1, 2. One more. One more.
You move the camera when you laugh. Come on.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, now you stay right here and let's bring your family, whoever you have with you that you want to bring up here. We'll get a picture with them and then would like you to say a few words after everybody else sits down, okay?
No, you here. You're on the screen.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay. I bet you're very proud, rightfully so. And you can just go right over there. Again, good job. That's great.
I just want to thank Mayor Dalton and the City Council for this recognition. I also like to thank Garden Grove Unified School District, La Quinta High School, and my principal, Louise Milner, for giving me the opportunity to serve in the community that I grew up in. Definitely got to thank Christina Buick for doing all the hard work and getting into Yale. This is actually really her award. She's a testament to what our students can do and achieve in our community. And I hope to continue to serve, and I hope that we can all work together in providing more of our students with this type of opportunity and providing equity access to all our students to higher education. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, now I'm going to open oral communications for the council and the agency and the sanitary district. Or, well, we did the sanitary district already, but if anybody wants to talk about it, they can. One thing, too, I'm pulling 7C. That is the item involving public comments. I'm pulling that till a future date when the full council is here, because I think it's fair for everybody if the full council has their opinions and they're stated. Okay, Russ McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor, staff, council. I'm going to talk about a few things tonight here. First is my water bill. Now, I've got copies of the last two water bills, and the furthest one back, two ago, I conserved 25% or 25% less water than I did last year, but I paid $4 more this year. So, got this last water bill here. I conserved 29% less water than from last year, and I still paid $4 more than I did last year. You got a book for dummies on how to read the water bill or something? Something's not right here. It shouldn't be like that. If you conserve water, you should have a little decrease in the price too, I would think, especially those large amounts. So who do I go to see over there?
We'll have someone contact you, Russ, and go through the whole process with you.
I'd appreciate it.
Yes.
Brooker's Triangle. I attended one of the meetings for the park. First off, I think, I don't care if it's 800 units or 700 units, there's not much difference. It's still going to just add so much traffic and that to the area there. I don't see how you guys are approving it, to tell you the truth. And then throw the citizens a bone, a acre park in the center of this thing. I'm just against it, completely against it. The thing that you pulled from the agenda, 7C, I had gone online and copied some of the things, and I just want to make my feelings known. First off, Mayor, you have been more than fair to everybody that comes up there. If I've ran over a couple times, and you've allowed me to, with most everybody you do, okay? But this thing here, the staff discussion irks me to no end. It is entirely a policy decision for the City Council to make staff feels obligated to present the option of shortening the time allotment per speaker in order to facilitate a more efficient use of the time. What's more important about using that time than hearing from the people that pay this bill for this city? And that the staff, whoever said that, ought to be fired, in my opinion. That's like taking my right to come up here and speak before you guys, okay? And well, you know what my feelings are on it. And I'll make it quick here. The last but not least, in my travels, I try to find visual toys to try and educate the City Council and you, Mayor, and I come up with a good one here. Now, this here come out of Disneyland, but this is probably the, well, I'll tell you what, if I could get this thing open, we'd have a ball here. There we go. This is the best explanation of a safe and sane firework right there. You see that? It ain't going to hurt anybody. There ain't nothing burning. There ain't nothing exploding or anything else. So with the 4th of July coming up here pretty soon, I'm going to be speaking more of this about this issue, and I'll give you this, Mr. Mayor, so you don't forget about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Quang Pham.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, citizens of Garden Grove. My name is Quang Pham, and I am a candidate for the Congress in this district next year. But I'm here to talk to you tonight about the Vietnam War Museum and why it's important to be here in the city of Garden Grove. Let me just give you a little bit about my background. I served in the U.S. Marine Corps for 13 years, the entire time at the El Toro base and the Tustin base. I am a business owner. I am an author of a book called A Sense of Duty in researching the Vietnam War from the Vietnamese as well as the American perspective. My previous involvement have been on the boards of the Marine Corps Scholarship Foundation. I've been to the Marine Corps War Museum in Quantico, a great treasure near our capital. I'm a board member of the Marines Memorial Association, and I'm a contributor to the Vietnam Center at Lubbock, Texas Tech University at Lubbock, Texas. Why that's important is I think it's important to have it here in the city of Garden Grove, because I think this is the only city in the world where you have 3 big constituents that were involved in the Vietnam War, not just only on the veteran side, but on the civilian side. First, you've got the Americans. 3.2 million Americans served in Vietnam. In this congressional district, over 11% are U.S. veterans. You have Vietnamese veterans from the South who have fought with the Americans and now live in the city. We have the great memorial of the city of Westminster, but I think that's a beautifully done, a sculpture of 2 soldiers. But what we need here is the 3rd element. A lot of people don't know that the South Koreans fought, and I think this is the only city in this country where all 3 constituents live, work together, and along with that deserve a place where they can remember their loved ones, honor the sacrifice of the Americans that served in that country, as well as the soldiers of South Korea and South Vietnam. I think a physical presence, a reminder of the sacrifice, will provide a lasting impact. in preserving that history and that sacrifice of the men and the women who fought in that conflict. But also in the long run, what we're doing is we're providing an educational value for future generations. And how we plan to do that is a number of us that have served on different boards that I've mentioned, nationally, regionally, and locally. A lot of the Vietnam vets in Orange County have talked about this for a long time. And what we need is really a nonprofit to be headquartered here in this city. And it'll be in 3 phases. First is a interactive web so people from around the country can see what this project's about. Second is a physical museum with artifacts and paper from that generation from the Republic of Vietnam as well as on the American side, because as you may not know, a lot of that stuff is being collected by Texas Tech University and the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C. And so we're sending artifacts and important pictures and memories of our loved ones to Washington and to Lubbock, Texas, where it should be here in Orange County and here in Garden Grove. So I think 3 elements as we roll out this. One is leadership and cooperation from the community as well as veterans and community members. Second is, in these hard economic times, private donation. And a good example of that is the Joint War Memorial of Westminster was mostly raised from private money, although the land was a public effort. And lastly, this entity has to be publicly available. So if you raise the money from private donation, you talk about the Vietnam War, which remains a loaded war in today when you're talking about the war that's going on. When you're talking about the Americans, the Vietnamese, and the South Koreans who live in this country, in this city, it's important to have public access. With that, I look forward to coming back with some of the people who are involved with this project to give you an update. And I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. It's good to be an American. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Harry Pierce.
I've already sent some stuff to Lubbock. Good evening, Council. My name is Harry Pierce. I live at 12752 Crestwood Circle. And tonight I'd like to come talk to you a little bit about parks. I missed the meeting last November 10th. Linda and I were over visiting a park, Zion National Park, celebrating our 47th wedding anniversary. And so my knowledge of what went on here is limited to the newspaper accounts and that I'd heard from other people that were here. One of the newspaper accounts said here, it's from the Register. It says city officials scaled down Brookhurst Triangle project, and it talks about the envisioned 23-story building and possibly 800 units. And it talked about a line in the sentence about which will be surrounded by urban trails, water features, sculptures, and other aesthetic features. I understand there were some people that were here that advocated a park from the descriptions. And lo and behold, on Friday, November the 13th, in the electric division of the Orange County Register, Central Garden Grove residents could get a new park. So a new park in Central Garden Grove is proposed for the Brookhurst Triangle site. The idea of the new park in the Brookhurst Triangle was brought forth by the Central Garden Grove residents during Tuesday's council meeting. So it talks about holding some community meetings and getting some ideas, because it says that city officials have scheduled meetings to discuss it. They're looking for ideas and the like for the new park. Well, wow, they heard us. They're going to build a park, a new park, and they want our input. I'm going to the meeting. So I get to the meeting, all excited about this park, wondering who set the limit at 1 acre. Why can't we make it 2 or 3 and make it a real park? And the presentation seems to suggest that what they really wanted was some ideas that to enhance the green belt in the project that is proposed or theoretically proposed, and would like to do that because they're after a grant. A grant could be upwards of $5 million for a new park. And they said that we really qualify because you draw a circle around the site so far, I think it's half mile. There are no parks. and we get a lot of points for that for the grant money. But as I sat there and listened to the thing, I thought, gosh, I'm being had. This park isn't really a park. It's really the green belt that the developer's going to have to put in there anyway, and they're going to get the stamp of approval out of citizens that, look, we really love this project because we helped design the park. Well, I had to control myself because I really wanted to get up, walk out, get my petition board out, and start an initiative. But I did, and I didn't. I stayed there and listened and realized that what they're trying to do is to help market the land. And I understand that now. I didn't then. They're trying to make it easier for somebody to come in here, another feature, and use state money for it. Well, I think parks are important. And I would like to advocate the idea of going ahead with this thing. Instead of making it 1 acre, make it several acres. If we've got grant money up to $5 million, it seems to me that we could use some of that money to purchase the park or the parkland. I understand that we've got $35 million against that park, and that has to be serviced and has to be sold. But it looks like to me also that if we could get $5 million, that'd pay for at least 2 acres, and certainly there's some money that's being taken from or taxed on to the developers for parks. And I would like very much to ask, very respectfully, that we modify the program and increase the size of the park, build a real park with basketball courts and the like they've got down at Miles Square Park. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Rod Powell.
Good evening. My name is Rod Powell, and I'm a Garden Grove resident. I have 3 things I want to go over, and they're all kind of brief. First one is, if you get, there's an incident I read about today on the Bolshevik website about a Vietnamese man that was hit repeatedly with batons. And I actually read the transcript and listened mostly, but watched a video. It's just horrifying, you know. So I just want to say that, you know, I know you're ex-policeman, and it's just no excuse for hitting a man with a baton over and over and gratuitously. And so I just wanted to say that. And I want to go back into the fireworks a little bit. This is from Cleveland, July 6, 2007. Angry neighbor linked to death of 3 in fireworks dispute. A neighbor apparently angry about fireworks at a noisy 4th of July party shot 3 people to death early Thursday and wounded 2 others, police said. Terrence Huff, Jr., a 35-year-old off-duty firefighter, was arrested in connection with the shootings, police spokesman Lieutenant Thomas Stako said. Near Seattle, another man was shot during an argument at a fireworks celebration and died after aid workers trying to help him felt threatened by a hostile crowd, authorities said. More than 100 people were present when the 2 men began arguing around 11:30 p.m. Wednesday in a parking lot in Skyway, an unincorporated area south of Seattle. Paramedics called after the shooting found the crowd so threatening they had to quickly take the wounded man out to continue CPR, said David Nelson, a spokesman for County Fire District 20. My point being, there is a dark side to this fireworks. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of bad people, and this is their night to be their most bad. And that's one of the things that makes people like me wish there weren't. We would at least be able to vote that I could say I don't want fireworks. Lastly, I want to start with an apology to Councilman Doe. I did actually gossip. I had heard or saw a Bolshevik blog, and someone blogged about you and an involvement with a Fountain Valley College girl. I found that so weird and unbelievable that I passed that from my lips to someone else's. That's ear pollution. I should not have done that. I will admit to that. In the last 2 council meetings, though, I have been victim to Councilman Doe putting words in my mouth. I have had Councilman Doe state that he was standing next to me at an ATM machine, when in reality it was someone else. For Councilman Doe to have the audacity to say he was standing beside me without me knowing it is to insult my intelligence. I assure you I was aware that standing next to me was a Vietnamese man. He was a little shorter than me. He wasn't you. As for having not looked into your residency, it is correct that as of September 22nd council meeting, I had only driven down the street where you claimed to be living in Garden Grove. At that point, I had not been in Santa Ana, to your house in Santa Ana. It took me all of 3 times in Santa Ana to find you there. Maybe someone believes your baloney excuse, but I don't. Unoccupied homes don't have 4 full trash cans out at the curb. You, a slick lawyer trained at spinning the truth, will certainly have an answer for this. Lastly, I find it, well, this isn't lastly, but I find it quite interesting that just 5 days after I catch you in Santa Ana, you take over ownership of the house in Garden Grove. I guess this is taking buying Garden Grove seriously. On an important note, I'm really upset when, in the course of our back and forth, it's mentioned that I've mentioned an 8-year-old daughter to the point that a lady in the audience gasps. And in other words, sick. You know, I can take a lot, and I do. But to spin this and to sink to that low level of trying to make me look like some odd character mentioning that, I really do feel I owe an apology for that one. Thank you.
Charles Mitchell.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, and staff. I had put on my card that I was going to speak on 7C, but since that's going to be postponed, I will go to 7B instead. Now, 7B is a proposal to reach an agreement with the Downtown Garden Grove Business Owners Association to install arches on Garden Grove Boulevard at Main Street. I think this is a marvelous proposal. They have worked very hard. Our supervisor of the First District, Janet Wynn, has been great in getting us the funding for these arches. I think it will do a lot to advertise what is available here in Garden Grove, and I certainly hope that the council will approve this agreement so that it can move forward and we can get this up and running. Now, the other thing I'd like to talk about is the grand jury. Now, this is the time of the year when the grand jury is accepting applications. Now, the grand jury is a great opportunity for people to serve their county and their community. Now, the grand jury has a job of investigating various situations. Every agency, every city council, every agency of the county are all subject to the grand jury's investigations. Now, everything that the grand jury does is confidential up to the point where they write a report, and that is printed. But those reports do not specify any particular individual. They address issues that are relative to the agencies, the school districts, and various city and county organizations. If you're interested in applying, I have a couple of applications with me this evening. Now, it's a full-time job. It starts July 1st next year and runs for a full year until June 30th of 2011. And it's a great chance to meet people, to learn about how your county operates and where problems are and how they can be solved. Many of the things that the grand jury has looked into have led to great improvements. I can recall one instance where I and another member went to talk to a school board about a problem they were having. And we listened politely. Of course, they don't have to answer our questions. But if they would like to have someone send out a subpoena to have them come to the grand jury and talk to us, we can do that too. So most agencies are glad to have us come and talk to them. And they'll answer our questions most of the time. But in listening to these people talk about the problem they were having, the partner that I was with and I looked at each other, and the same thought occurred to both of us, and we expressed this thought to the board. Have you ever tried doing this? And this look of astonishment came across their faces. No, we have never considered that. Well, a week later, there was a small column in the Orange County Register saying that this school district has adopted this new program that is going to make everything wonderful for the students. No mention was ever made that members of the grand jury went and talked to them. It wasn't necessary. The grand jury had done its job. We talked to people, looked at the problem, found a solution. But this is what the opportunity is for people to serve on the grand jury. And the pay is $50 a day and mileage from your home to the courthouse and back. And believe me, it is a wonderful opportunity to serve your community and learn about what's going on in Orange County. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll close all communications and recess the council and go to the agency.
And the Sand District.
At this time, we'll open up the Garden Grove Agency for Community Development. Ms. Bailey, will you please call roll?
Member Dalton?
Here.
Member Doe?
Here.
Member Jones?
Here.
Vice Chair Nguyen? Chair Broadwater?
Here. We've had oral communications. We have consent items, minutes. Need a motion and a second.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion or action is requested by a council member.
Move to adopt.
Second.
I'd like to pull 4A.
Okay. All in favor, or excuse me, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, we have a resolution honoring the Garden Grove 176 Medical Group, HHD. I'd like to know what HHD stands for. Somebody must know. It's in there 10 times.
Yes.
Yes. Oh.
Headquarters Detachment.
Headquarters, head.
Sounds redundant, but it's not.
All right. Well, a lot of us probably didn't even know that a 176 Medical Group actually existed in Garden Grove. And I won't read the whole resolution, but it really honors them well. And they're coming back on December the 6th and celebrate a long-awaited homecoming. So I will make a motion that we pass this resolution.
Second. Have a motion and second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, public hearings.
Mr. Mayor, your public hearing this evening is to consider an amendment to the Brookhurst Chapman specific plan, and Susan Emery is here to give a staff report on this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Staff is presenting for your consideration this evening an amendment to the Brookhurst Chapman.
Excuse me before we go any further. Shouldn't I leave on this issue? That address is very close to the same address as my house.
If it's potentially within 500 feet, I would advise you to step down.
Yeah, I would think so.
Okay, staff is presenting for your consideration this evening an amendment to the Brookhurst Chapman specific plan to allow a children's learning centers as a conditional use. The Brookhurst Chapman specific plan allows for a variety of commercial and office uses, including restaurants, movie theaters, medical offices, shops, and banks. This amendment will allow for an additional use, children's learning centers, which are compatible with the existing uses in that specific plan. We have reviewed numerous applications for these types of, we've received numerous applications for these types of centers in the last couple of years and are recommending that they be allowed as a conditional use due to the assembly nature of the businesses, which may have impacts on surrounding tenants due to traffic, parking, noise, or loitering. The CUP requirement will allow staff to review and the governing bodies to approve a children's learning center based on each individual application, the primary issues being how the business proposes to operate and the location of the business. This amendment was prompted by a request from Davis Alexander for a children's learning center at the southeast corner of Brookhurst and Chapman. As you recall, the original request was appealed to the City Council several months ago and was sent back to the Planning Commission for further review. Last month, the Planning Commission approved the conditional use permit and recommended approval of the amendment to the specific plan. The Planning Commission is recommending that the City Council adopt the negative declaration for Amendment A-149-09 and introduce the ordinance for first reading. I'm going to introduce the title right now, and that's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving amendment number A-149-09, an amendment to the Brookhurst Chapman specific plan, Brookhurst Chapman Commercial Zone, to allow a children's learning center as a new use. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
Last time, if I recall, we have some concerns over possible exposure to traffic coming through the alley because of the proximity of the rear exit door.
Right.
Has that problem been addressed?
It was addressed prior to the Planning Commission. They are now keeping all the students inside the center. So instead of assembling or congregating at the rear, where we're concerned about the traffic making left turns around the center, they're now keeping all the students inside the building.
But as they exit the door to be picked up, aren't they still kind of facing the same danger with traffic kind of coming on the blind corner?
That's on the rear of the building, and the intent, as I understand it now, is for them to enter and exit through the front of the building.
Only?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on this matter?
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Reverend Dr. David Quinn, the senior pastor for Vietnamese American Baptist Church and the leader of BCC, the Multicultural Community Service Center and Volunteer Service for the tutoring. We fully support the tutoring for the benefit of the community, and thank you for your honor, and happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this matter? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. And I'll entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 3 yes votes.
Okay, can someone get Councilman Broadwater back?
Again, thank you very much for your honor, and happy Thanksgiving again.
Thank you. Same to you. Okay, items for consideration.
Mr. Mayor, your first item is award of contract regarding traffic installation signals, and Bill Murray is here to give you a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Mr. Mayor and members of the council. Tonight, council is being asked to award a construction contract for traffic improvements. Last year, the city applied for and received funding to install 8 pedestrian actuated traffic signals near 9 local schools. These improvements will be paid for by the state's Safe Routes to School program. Additionally, the Traffic Commission recommends modifying 2 existing signals along Orangewood to include left turn phasing. This will be paid for using Measure M funding. On October 29th, 2009, 10 bids were received and opened. The lowest qualified bidder was McAdee Electrical Construction with a total bid amount of about $930,000. The bid was within the capital improvement budget for these projects, and should the council decide to award the contract this evening, the construction could begin before the end of the year and be completed by April 2010. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, I have one. These are intersections at schools.
They're actually crossing locations.
Crossing locations.
Most of the time, they're intersections.
Do they currently have crossing guards at these locations?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Okay, I think some of them do, and this just may be an enhancement and a safety factor, which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I'd actually have to check on that particular issue as to whether there is or
Okay.
isn't. I'm not aware of it.
Yes, Mr. Stowe.
Yeah. Has McAdee done any work for us before?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Acceptable.
How many of these crossings do we have already?
I would have to check into that one.
We do have some, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
We have one at the school, right at the Evans School.
We also have one right here at the Civic Center.
Yeah, it works well.
Okay,
Move the issue.
Second.
call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, 7B.
Mr. Mayor, 7B is to consider the proposal by the Downtown Business Association for the installation of a decorative arch on Main Street, and Bill Murray is here to give a staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Fertel. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, in April 2008, the Garden Grove Downtown Business Association requested the city to approve the construction of 2 decorative arches on Main Street. Council approved the concept, but requested that the association provide additional information such as construction and maintenance costs and the city's responsibilities during and after the construction. Staff has reviewed and concurs with the association's information that has been provided. The association has presented the requested materials and is seeking final approval. It should be noted that the request is only to build 1 arch at this time, as the association does not have sufficient funding to construct 2. Should council approve the construction of the work on the arches, that construction can begin before the end of the year. This concludes staff's report.
Thank you. Any questions for staff?
I'll move the issue.
Second. Okay, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay, 8A.
8A is ordinance for second reading, and that's ordinance number 2758, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove approving Code Amendment number A150-09 for the reorganization of Title IX, the zoning ordinance of the municipal code, add new definitions and correct typographical errors.
Move the issue.
Second.
Okay, call for the vote.
Councilmember Broadwater.
This thing's not working.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Different commissions and committees, it's done differently, so, okay. 8B.
8B is ordinance number 2759 for second reading, and that's ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove adopting a mitigated negative declaration and approving Plan Unit Development Number PUD 123-09, changing the zoning designation from C2 Community Commercial and Plan Unit Development Number PUD 102-88 to Plan Unit Development Number PUD 123-09.
How would the public know what that is about if they're just reading that? And there ought to be a hint of what that's about.
Well, tell them.
I don't even know if I know.
This is the rezoning of the Brookers Triangle,
All right, let's get it out there.
AKA.
Okay. All right.
Move the item.
Second.
Have a motion, second, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
8C.
8C is ordinance number 2760 for second reading, and that's ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove adopting a mitigated negative declaration and adopting a development agreement between the City of Garden Grove and the Garden Grove Agency for Community Development, also related to the Brookers Triangle.
We learn fast.
Move the issue.
Second.
Call for the vote.
It didn't work again. Councilmember Broadwater. Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Okay. We've got everything, so now Bruce,
We start off with that.
you want to, okay, you want to be last? Go ahead. Councilman Doe.
Oh, okay. The latest ranking of the country's safest cities just came out recently, and we came in at number 99. They ranked the top 100, and we came in at 99. So congratulations to Chief Polisar and the city. Out of, the thousands of cities in the country to come in that high, I mean, we should really pat ourselves on the back, especially, achieving that result with the resources, the limited resources that we have. So that's great kudos to our department, police department. I want to follow up on Mr. Mitchell's comment about the grand jury. As a former DA, I had to go before the grand jury from time to time to present my case. And I want to give people a little bit of kind of additional background on what they do that might be of interest to people. Is on felony cases, we, the prosecutor, can either go in front of a judge and present evidence to establish probable cause to hold that person over and make them go to trial to answer for the charges. Or we can go to a grand jury and present the evidence and get an indictment from the grand jury. And so when you hear between being filed on by the DA or getting an indictment, well, the grand jury does that. And so that's another additional, job that they do. And like Mr. Mitchell said, it's a full-time commitment, but it is such a wonderful opportunity to serve your community, because that is really the last check on the system, because the grand jury is composed of regular, everyday folks who got selected to sit on this grand jury, and they have the power to look into how the government functions, how efficient it is, what it does it make any sense, and then at the end they prepare reports that is made up in a bound volume that is an annual compilation of different reports that are prepared and issued by the grand jury. And so it's kind of a snapshot of how we as common folks with our common sense, approach to government come in and see how things are done and then maybe give our input. Of course, the departments in the county and the agencies are free to follow or to respond accordingly. But that's one way for us, the citizenry, to give input into the government. Otherwise, we wouldn't have that check and balance in place. So thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you. Mr. Jones.
I would say happy birthday to Dina, but she's not here to hear it. So that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Broadwater.
Well, the Vietnamese War Museum idea was mentioned again this evening. We are putting together some committee and talking about it and seeing what it's going to take to get it going. It'll be just a very small start, but it will be a start. And I hope that we try to keep the politics out of it as much as possible. And I don't want to take anything away from that gentleman tonight. He was very well spoken and everything. But he could be a lot more help after he gets elected instead of pushing that wagon at this time. Anyway, we are going to have a lot of individuals involved, and we're getting it going.
Thank you. There were a couple things that we had over the weekend. We had the 40th anniversary of the Garden Grove Library, the regional library on Stanford, and there were quite a few people there. Councilman Doe was there, Supervisor Wynn, Loretta Sanchez, Congresswoman Sanchez. And I think that a lot of people, that have used the library before understand and value its existence there. Not only the fact that it's across the street from Garden Grove High School, but it is a regional library, which means we get a lot more displays and things that go only to regional libraries that our other two libraries don't get. And being a regional library, there's funding and there's some other things that make it a little bit more worthwhile. But also, you have a larger number of books, you have a larger number of resources for kids and adults, for that matter. It's something that Garden Grove is very proud of. We have 3 libraries. We've worked hard for them, and we take very good care of them. And the staff over there just does a wonderful job, and the Friends of the Library, too. You can't forget them, because they raise extra money to help pay the bills, because, as everybody knows, there's never enough. But they do a great job through book sales and other fundraisers to help, and mainly, again, it's the youth of our community. And we also had the opening of the community garden, and that was really neat, because not all 39 people were there that have plots, but there were quite a few there. And in fact, I've driven by there 4 times since then on different days, and there's somebody out there plowing, and it's great. I think this is really going to turn into something that we may look at, and we may find other spots in the city too. It is something that brings people together and gives them kind of a common goal. and helps put the garden back in Garden Grove. So if you missed it, drive by. It's 8th and Garden Grove Boulevard, and it won't be long before you'll see little green things. You know, and part of the mystique is trying to guess what the crops are until they're grown and you can see what they are. But I think it's a good thing for the community. And, you know, whether it's the library, whether it's the community garden, or whether it's looking at a museum for the city, these are all things that benefit the city of Garden Grove. And they help put our name on the map. And we've had our name put on the map many times over the years for some of the additions that have happened with this community. And it's prior councils, it's current councils, it's current city staff and previous city staff. Sometimes they really don't get the recognition that they deserve. You know, we're always talking about the hotels, $12 to $15 million or so in bed taxes, but there are a lot of people that push for that too. And we have an aggressive redevelopment agency. We have an aggressive staff that's not just looking today, tomorrow. They're looking 2, 3, 5 years from now. And that's really the way you have to be, especially in an economy such as this. So I do just want to take a minute and thank the staff and city manager and personnel director and city clerk and everybody, attorney, everybody here that really does help us. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting till Tuesday, December 8th at 5:30 p.m. in the council chambers. Thank you.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, thank you. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all.